this session and send it to them afterwards. Okay, ready. Hello again. So this is webinar number 5 in our series. It's our final one of the year. I think many of you, this is not the first one you've joined, so that's nice. I think we're going to look at doing some feedback, as this is something we're going to continue into the new year. But I'm going to leave that to Katie to arrange. So you might see a feedback form from us. If you could let us know how you've found them so far, that would be really helpful. But today's webinar, we're going to look at DeMeter, and I've mixed the format up a little bit, and I've invited one of my colleagues to help present. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Alexander Hale. I'm the product manager here in the UK. I think most of you have joined these webinars before, so you're probably sick of me by now. But Antoine, I will let him introduce himself. Thanks, Antoine.
Yes, thank you, Alexander. Hi, everyone. My name is Antoine Delmas. I'm Global Marketing Manager for our software products. I've been with Desoutter for about 15 years now, and I've always been in the software, industrial software topic. I have started actually my career as a software engineer, software developer. So yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Antoine. So I'm trying to keep this a little bit shorter on the introductions at the beginning because I have a habit of running over. So yeah, just to say that this webinar really forms part of the existing series, and the idea is we have this ecosystem, as we call it, for Desoutter, which is our collection of sort of interconnected, related products, all loosely in the Industry 4 and industrial control kind of area. So we've already done all the other grey squares you can see here. They're the topics of our previous webinars. So process control, our pivotware system. We have some vision systems for positioning of tools and quality checking. Our talk tools themselves, and also our automation products. I'm not going to mention them any more than that because, like I say, they formed the topics of our previous webinars. So they're all still available. You can go watch the recordings. Today's topic is the final one, data-driven solutions. So the idea here is the rest of the ecosystem and your ecosystem in the factory generates a lot of data. And we've seen in the past that this data often goes unused. And this is one of the newest products in the Desoutter portfolio. And the idea is that we're helping you to consolidate that data and turn it into something measurable and actionable. So in terms of the system itself, what is DeMeter? The idea is that it takes all of that data that I just mentioned from a shop floor, so tools, other software, whatever, and it visualizes it. It creates visualizations for you, which you can view across multiple devices. And hopefully, as we go through this presentation, it will become clearer and clearer the advantages of doing that and the exact kind of scope of the system. But that's it in a nutshell. So in terms of what you actually need to make this work, it's quite simple, really. You need some hardware on your shop floor, which is capable of generating the data. So things like I said, smart tooling, etc. You need the DeMeter software itself, which is actually a collection of services which run on a server. So you kind of never really see DeMeter directly. And you need a web browser to allow you to actually view that data. So all of the configuration is done as a really intuitive, nice to look at web page, basically. And the perk of that is, as will become clear throughout the rest of the presentation, it really allows you to use the system in the best way. So you might have it on a smart TV on the shop floor, so a big 60-inch screen showing some data, or you might be able to look at it on your phone, or you might have it in a web browser on your laptop at your desk. But in any case, these are the kind of three basic components. And I think before we go too much further, it's worth just clarifying what some of those shop floor devices, the actual data sort of generators, what do they look like? So for the most part, it's going to be things like our pivotware process control system. It itself, for anyone that's familiar with it, already generates a lot of data which can be sort of historically analyzed. But that links well into DeMeter. We also have things like our assembly tools. So where we're talking about final torque, final angle, the actual rundown curve, so that the sort of profile of the fastening, all of that can be communicated to DeMeter. And also our smart drilling assets from Setitech. So like the assembly tools, except it's drilling data rather than tightening data. All of that feeds back to DeMeter as a kind of single source of truth. And just moving on quickly, one thing I just wanted to say was a quick kind of glossary, because I think we throw lots of terms around and we don't always define them first. So as we go through the rest of this presentation, there'll be a lot of references to widgets and dashboards, and I just wanted to take 2 seconds just to fully clarify what they exactly mean. So a widget, in essence, is a single a visualization of a single data type. So you can think of that as being a graph, a chart, a list. One of those would be a widget. And then a dashboard is what you would actually look at. So when I was describing earlier that you might have a big 60-inch TV at the end of your production line, that dashboard, that screen would have a dashboard on it, and that dashboard would be comprised of many widgets. Usually, you could just have one big widget on the whole screen if you wanted to, but all of that will be shown in a lot more detail as we continue on. But yeah, widget, single data point, dashboard, collection of widget, single visualization, dashboard, collection of those visualizations. And it's always easier to show than it is to tell. So I've just got a little video here about how easy it is to create one of those dashboards. So this is just in a web browser. We'd come in, we click add new dashboard, we give it a name, and then we get this kind of canvas that we can configure to our needs. So it would be things like we can add your customer logo in the bottom corner. We can add this slogan that you can see being typed at the bottom. Maybe that's just add some extra information. And then we can add some widgets. So because there's lots and lots of widgets available to choose from, we can kind of filter by data type. So here, maybe I just look at the tightening related ones. And if I click on any of those, it gives me some extra information about that specific widget. And once I've picked it, I can just drag and drop it onto the page. And anyone who's ever configured widgets on their phone will know this process. So that first one there, super simple widget, is just showing us how many results we have in a given time period. This next one is basically a list of all of those tightening results. So we can see we've got 813 results. This is all 813 in a list. These are all just examples, by the way. There's lots and lots of widgets to choose from, far too many to go over here, but that's those results plotted over a timeline. So you can see, did most of my results happen this afternoon or this morning? Then we've got some extra ones for sort of overall status of the devices, NOK ratio. There's lots and lots and lots of things we can add here, which we'll talk about more. Statistical analysis, curve analysis, KPI analysis, you name it. You build this dashboard to suit your specific needs. And you can have multiple dashboards. So it's highly likely that you have a dashboard which has some top level information on it, which is maybe useful for your management team. And then you have a different dashboard, which is very low level granular data, which is useful maybe to your engineering team, so they can do deep dives into different trends and specific occurrences. But yeah, that's, hopefully you can see that it's very easy to create a dashboard. And here's just to give you even more of an idea, here's just some random example dashboards, which are kinds of things that we would commonly see. So that top left one, quite high level, it's showing us failure rates, basically, how much of our production is resulting in an NOK result. We can see things like those NOKs by asset, so we can see maybe which tool is performing better or worse, and we can see it by station for the same. The next one, events, I won't talk about because it's got its whole own slide later on. Statistical analysis, so we can see how tools are performing over time or on specific joints. Again, won't say more because I think Antoine's going to do a little I don't know what he's going to present. Who knows? Hopefully something interesting, but yeah, more of a deep dive. So yeah, you can see here that these dashboards are really configurable to your needs, and in all likelihood, you would probably have 2 or 3 of them for the different stakeholders in your business. Everything I've discussed so far is very real-time in nature, which I think is an important phrase when we're talking about DeMeter, because, as I said, all of these kinds of products that we've talked about on the shop floor, so pivotware, the tools, they already record data. You might already have some of them on site. Particularly pivotware, you get a lot of data about how something was built. But the big difference that's important to note with DeMeter is, firstly, that it's a unified source for that data. So you might have 20 assets generating data, but the data from all of those goes back to DeMeter. So it's that single source of truth I mentioned earlier. And secondly, and more importantly to what I'm saying now, is the real-time aspect. So in the past, it was possible to view this data, but you had to choose to go and do it. You had to go out of your way to go and look at the data, decide what to look at, decide what was important, and you actively had to go and do it. Whereas all of this is happening in real time. As the data is generated, it's automatically pulled through into DeMeter, it's displayed. Any trends will be displayed as the data is being generated. The trend will be being analyzed in real time. You can just glance up at that 60-inch screen at the end of your production line, and you'll be able to see the data. You don't have to go and do anything, and that's really important. However, there are still times where you would want to do a historic analysis. So maybe you have a specific vehicle which you want, if you're building a car, maybe you have a specific vehicle which you want to look at all the data for that. How did our hardware assets perform specifically in relation to the production of that one vehicle or that one, whatever it was that you build? And I just want to show that quickly here. So we've got a dashboard which is quite general purpose. You can see it's got 11 million results in it. We've got an overall OK/NOK ratio, so how well did the production of those parts go. Here we've got a widget for top 5 NOK ratio. So this is showing us each one of these bars represents a piece of hardware, which are the worst performing devices. Similarly, this widget in the top right just expands on that a little bit more. Along the bottom, we have the same devices, but on the y-axis, we can see the cause of an NOK result. So it could be that someone released the trigger too early on the tool, which gives a failed result, and we'd be able to see that as a top stop source here. But I said I was going to show you some historic analysis, so it's the widget at the bottom that we care most about. This is one big list of all of the tightenings which have happened. And you can see there's various columns in here for which asset was it that did the tightening operation, the final torque, the final angle, the date and time, etc., etc. But if we want to, this is for a car, for car manufacturing. So if we want to see the results for one specific vehicle, how would we do that? And it's as simple as clicking on that column header, typing in the specific VIN that we care about. It takes a few seconds, and then we've filtered all of those 11 million results down into 130 results, We could filter it even further if we just want to look at the not okay results within that list. And there you go. We can see for that one specific vehicle, there was only one NOK result, and we can go into that. And this is a tightening operation, so we can look at the actual rundown curve. And I might just take this as an opportunity to defer to Antoine for the first time. One of the things that I think that's interesting is we've moved away from SQL. And
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to say a
absolutely.
few words on that, Antoine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you've seen, I mean, it's funny because often when we present it, when we have a one-to-one with a customer and they see us do this, this is the kind of thing that we can do. We don't need a big server to do this kind of thing. Actually, sometimes we just go visit our customers with a laptop and we do this this demo. And often they actually want to choose themselves which vehicle number, for example, they want to filter because they believe that we have prepared this, that it's just not happening for real. Probably also because they know how long this takes to do with the solutions on the market today based on SQL. So no, there is no trick. This is happening for real. And the reason for that is that the technology that's behind this is a technology that was designed for big data, not for home office, but really for big data. And so the technology is ready to do this, is able to do this. And that's also a choice that we made because we want to be ready for the future. We know that the amount of data is increasing continuously, and we need this, absolutely. And you need this as well.
As I understand, if we're running the same kinds of reports, actually it will get faster over time as it builds the indexes. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes, yes, absolutely. So again, the technology being based on big data, people who want to access to the data need to know that it's going to go fast. And very often, actually, the same requests to access the same kind of data or the same aspects of the data, same parameters, are used over and over again. And so the technology is designed actually to make it faster every time you use it because it's going to reorganize the indexes of the database automatically depending on the way you use it. So if you do exactly what was shown, for example, in this presentation, in this video, the second time you're going to do it, it's going to switch from 2.5 seconds to maybe 200 milliseconds. And then the next time it's going to be 55 milliseconds. And then if you do something else, it's going to be the same. The first time it's maybe going to take 2 or 3 seconds, but the next time you're going to do it, it's going to be shortened significantly. So yeah, that's what the technology does. It's really made for big data.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, especially in the early part of my career. I did a lot with SQL databases for Pivotware, and yeah, it can't be overstated how much better it is. Yeah. So we just carry on through here. One more thing we can do is we had that failed tightening result. We've just picked the failed one and 2 past results, and we can overlay those tightening curves. So kind of reactively, I've come in here, I've selected those 3 results, and I'm overlaying them. So I can see the comparison between the profiles. And I mean, if you see there that the blue one, which was the failed one, is completely different. And I won't dwell on this too much actually, because we're going to come back to it, but it's a useful historic analysis tool in some circumstances. But I'll continue. So yeah, my final comment. You can take those curves, and sometimes it is useful. For example, if you want to just look at the results for a specific vehicle and compare similar bolt profiles or something, and you can overlay up to 100 of those curves, which is, as far as I know, quite unprecedented.
Yeah, compared to the rest of the market, it's significant. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. But this is not necessarily always going to be the right approach. And again, this is a good time to defer to Antoine to let him maybe explain more.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is typically the kind of view that people would use in wanting to look for an explanation into why a quality issue appeared. If you can switch to the next slide, Alexander. Please, thank you. So typically when you are looking for potential hidden defects, so you want to look at your curves, you want to try and see if some curves are a bit different from the others. And that might actually show that something happened that was not supposed to happen in the joint during the tightening. Another reason is that you may actually look for a pattern that you have seen in the past or that you have identified as being a threat. Or you just want to look at the tightening over time, take some samples and see if there is any evolution of the tightening over time to detect some kind of trends. And finally, obviously, well, we hear about recalls all the time in every really industry. It happens, it exists everywhere. And this tool is going to be used as well in this situation when we have the proof that one product is actually showing a quality defect. We want to go back to the data, find the curve that is incriminated. And once we have the curve, we want to compare it. We want to look for this kind of pattern in the rest of our traceability, because that's obviously would mean that other products would be impacted. If you go forward, but obviously that's a limited solution, right? Because, well, first, it's a reactive approach only. You're basically waiting to have an issue to react. And when you choose 100 curves, yes, as we said, that's already quite a lot of curves. Honestly, it's difficult to see very well when there is so much data in one graph. But some of our customers were asking for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 curves on the same graph. But even 5,000 curves, if you manage to fit actually 5,000 curves on the same graph, what are you going to see? And how do you choose these 5,000 curves? Many of our customers have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of tightenings that are happening on the production line every day. So how do you choose these 5,000? How do you choose the reference?
Yeah, I mean,
is the question.
Just to say one thing, Antoine, like you say, 5,000 curves sounds like a lot, but actually for someone with a very fast takt time, 5,000 curves is nothing. And we know that rundown can be affected by temperature, for example. So what happens if the 5,000 results you choose are in winter versus summer? It's going to look different. What happens if
that's exactly the problem.
It's a molded part and the mold tool ages over time? Like, there are so many reasons why you just choosing 5,000 results is like a flawed. We see that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're unlucky, even with the 100 curves overlapping, you may choose to compare on your curve against 99 wrong ones, actually, and you have no way to know. And despite this, it's still a time-consuming. So it's still a time-consuming approach. So there must be a better way to do this, obviously. And to find a better way to do this, if you go to the next slide, Alexander. To do better than this, actually, we need to go back to the origin of the issue. Today, you are able to detect when your tightening controller is not reaching the angle and torque windows. You want to see a big green OK on your tightening controllers. We all do. But actually, there is more than this that matters. There is the final result, yes, but there is also the way to get there. And here is an example of graph. You see on the graph that there is a green curve. The green curve is the one we wanted to take to get all the way to the top when there is no issue. And then there is the red one that definitely looks different. And you want to pay attention to this, okay? And you might actually even be able with a more complex tightening program that may generate more not OKs as well, but you may be able to detect this red curve. But then there is an infinity of possibilities to reach this angle and torque window, and there is the yellow one as well. And what about this one? Not only it's difficult to assess whether there is actually a quality issue here, but it's extremely difficult to detect as well. Today, the technologies that are on the market, for example, the boxing, is not going to be able to detect this, or in a very, very few cases. So we can see that there is an infinity of possibilities here, an infinity of types of curves, and that's because there are an infinity as well of potential root causes linked to the tightening. For example, a cross thread, problem of a tool that does not jog properly, a problem in the machining of the part or the thread. It can also be related to the assembly itself. When there is a complex assembly, for example, electric terminals are known to be a little bit more complex than others. You can easily forget a washer, for example. How are you going to detect this? We've got also challenges in the assembly when we are tightening in soft materials, plastics or soft metals, with the risk of deteriorating the material without actually noticing. All of this may show in the curve, but obviously you've got to look at the curve. And it's not good enough if the tightening is okay. You need to know how you got to this okay result. So it is a technology that does, we need a technology that does not look at an individual problem, but is able to catch pretty much anything, right? If you switch to the next slide, Alexander, thank you. So how do we do this? How do we actually face these challenges? With a technology that we call curve analytics, integrated to DeMeter. What our system does is that it's going to start by taking all of your data, okay? Not 100 curves, not 5,000 curves, all of your traceability. And it's going to train, just like artificial intelligence is training, it needs data, so it needs your traceability, and it's going to look at every single curve, and it's going to pack together, group together, all the curves that have similar behaviors. Instead of having to look at 1 million, 2 million curves in your traceability, all of a sudden you're looking at 10 or 15 different contexts, clusters, as we call them. So 10 or 15 different behaviors that have been determined by the algorithm as being quite common. And obviously, then there are other curves that are not common, that are really what we call outliers, so very different behaviors. And quite often that's on this side that you are going to look for quality issues, actually.
Also, we're not necessarily saying whether these are good or bad, right? We're just saying sometimes the tightening curves looks like this, sometimes it looks like that. These are two distinct behaviors, but we're not saying at this stage if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. So what the algorithm is going to do, yes, exactly like you said, it's going to group together what looks alike. It is going to give it a status, a default status, actually, normal, abnormal, and outlier. But this status is fully customized, can be fully customized, obviously, because again, the algorithm doesn't know about the joint. It doesn't know if you were supposed to have 1 washer or 2 washers, if it was supposed to be a hard joint or a soft joint. It doesn't know about any of this. And this is where your expertise of your processes, of your product design is actually coming in. And you are going to be able to tell the algorithm, yes, you're right, this is normal. I was expecting this behavior. Or if not, if this is not something that you were expecting, in which case you will tell the algorithm, no, that's not acceptable. Anything that looks like this, I need to know this is not acceptable. If you go to the next point, now we are trying to also answer another challenge that we were facing when we were overlaying curves, right? We were saying we don't know what is the reference curve, what we need to compare against. What the algorithm of curve analytics does is that it's going to create one reference curve, not to create, to select one reference curve per behavior. Okay, so again, you're not looking at 1 million curves, you're just looking at a few curves, and these curves are representative. They are not created by the algorithm. They are actually curves that are in your production. So we have reference curves that are taken from your traceability, from your whole data set, not just from a small sample of it. Next, we have to obviously, once the system has learned from your data, now we need to actually handle the production that is ongoing. Every single curve that is going to be generated on your production line is going to be analyzed by curve analytics and put in one of these clusters, depending on what it looks like. It's as simple as this. It means that in real time, you can see the evolution of the clusters. You can also access to the history of the spreading of these clusters, which is quite interesting. If you see that one cluster is becoming dominant, for example, it may mean that you've got a new behavior that happens more and more often, and you definitely want to understand why. This is actually some quality issues that we've got, that we've detected at some customers that that
And
total sense.
the over time one is kind of a perfect example of that one I said earlier about temperature. If you see that one particular cluster is really common during the winter months and then goes away during the summer, it could be that your part is brittle in the cold weather or something like that. The curve, the cluster itself doesn't know that, but you can see if it's prevalent in cold months, maybe it's related to temperature.
Yeah, in the past, we've also had another very good example, which was a shipment of screws. The supplier of screws had changed at a particular month, and we could see that from this month onwards, the new screws were actually becoming more and more often used. And we could see that a specific cluster was actually becoming dominant. And that's how we understood the origin of the quality issue that the customer was facing. So there you go, real-time classification, which means that we're not reacting. We are very much being proactive. We want, as soon as the tightening has occurred, you've seen the time it takes for the system to react. So you know that it's all happening in real time, and we want to know as early as possible, because that means that we are going to solve the issue with the cheapest possible costs. And we want the right people also to be notified. So Alexander mentioned a notification feature, and we are going to talk about it again, but it's obviously also linked to our Curve Analytics system, which means that you can decide for one of these behaviors that has been detected, that one specific person is in charge of checking the part if this happens. Or just another rule could be, for example, anytime there is an outlier, I want this specific person of my quality department to go and have a look. You can choose your escalation process. You can choose how you're going to handle these alerts. Okay, but all of this, I mean, my personal point of view is that it's a brilliant tool, obviously, but all of this is just a tool, right? And it's just as good as the way you handle it. And to handle it properly, to have it actually end up with actions that you take on your production lines that are going to increase your quality output, we need more than just the tool. You need the tool, the analytics in it, but you also need expertise. And you need your expertise in your product design, in your production processes, and you need our expertise as well in tightening, in software technology, for example. When we put all this expertise together, that's when we really make a difference, when we really start to make a change on the production line. It doesn't mean, obviously, that we will keep you depending on us and on our expertise forever. The point is for us also to participate to you building your ownership on this solution, and for you to be able to use this solution by yourself and see the results by yourself. Right, so this was very much tightening oriented and quality oriented, but that's not it. DeMeter does a lot more than this. Alexander, I think you had another topic after this one.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of follow on from what Antoine was saying about those alerts, because obviously the kind of trend analysis and seeing nice graphs over time is fantastic, but there is kind of a whole other side which Antoine touched on, which is actually sometimes an event can happen which you want to raise an alert for, and you need an action to take place, or at the very minimum you want to record that event happened. So it's essentially taking the kind of event data from all of those pieces of hardware on the shop floor and allowing you to work with them. So as the slide says, what is happening, where is it happening, and what are you going to do about it? So the alerts side of DeMeter can take a few different forms. So I'll give you a couple of examples. This is the one that was from Antoine's slide. These are all quite tool-focused alerts. And what you can see on the screen here, this is one dashboard which contains two widgets. The widget at the top is open alerts, and the widget at the bottom is top alerts. So right now, in this factory, we can see that the tool battery is low on the CVI3QWX, whatever tool that is. We could give it a different name. and that's giving us a warning. And there are different kind of levels and codes to these warnings. So that might be something which is just, it's an open alert, it's been raised on the screen, we can see it, and maybe no further action is required. Maybe just putting it on the screen is enough to prompt someone to just go and change the battery, and that's all that needs to happen. But there are different kind of severities, and you can see those in the bottom widget. So this is the top alerts. So unlike the top one, that's the top one is happening right now. That is something which has just happened, and maybe something needs to happen as a result. At the bottom, we can see kind of a historic view of the alerts. So we can see what is the most common thing which is happening. And actually, I'm pretty sure that's the same. Yeah, that's the same one. So that top line there, tool battery low for that device ID, has occurred 27 times. And I can see at the top of the screen, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we've got this dashboard at the moment set to view 30 days worth of data. So in the last 30 days, that tool has had a low battery 27 times, and we can see that that's the most occurring alert. So maybe at this point, that alert at the top, maybe on its own, didn't require any further action because someone can just go change the battery and it's fine. But actually, the fact that it's occurred 27 times means maybe we need to change the process of how often these batteries are swapped. Maybe instead of just changing them between day shift and night shift, we want to change it during the break. Or maybe it's because the battery is very old and we want to replace it with a newer battery. But that's still just kind of a warning level. Alert, we have others just for info and for error. And I think where this becomes really powerful is actually when this is tied into something like Pivotware, which I've got a slide on here. So I don't know how many of you will be familiar with Pivotware, but it's a very popular product. We did a webinar on it, so if you want to learn more, go watch that. But this is our process control system. So the operator on the shop floor would see a screen like this one on the left. It's giving them instructions and they have to follow a process. But there's also this little button in the top right-hand corner of the screen, which maybe you've seen, maybe you've not seen. By default, this is grayed out, but you can in Pivotware, you can go in here and add some buttons which appear on the screen. So I've shown it in. If you click that bell button, this small pop-up will appear, and I've created 3 alerts for low part stock, need help, and part missing with different levels. And it's also possible that if you click one of these, you can also type some text in. So if you need more information than just a predefined button, you can have kind of free text to let someone type. But what would happen is the operator is carrying out their process. They have some issue, they can click the button and it can raise an alert. And the alert can be more or less whatever you've configured it to be. And I will show you what that looks like in DeMeter, but just one other quick thing to mention. That's kind of a reactive thing where the operator is actively choosing to press a button. It is also possible in some circumstances using I/O, for example, 24-volt I/O, that we can automatically raise an alert as part of a Pivotware process. So maybe we have like a level sensor on some parts bin, and as soon as that level sensor is triggered, it automatically raises the alert. So yeah, you've got choices there. But either way, once you've raised that alert, you can see here I've got a dashboard which looks a little bit like the other one we just saw. The only difference here is, so we still have that widget at the bottom for open alerts. So it's telling us that right now there is an error level alert, which is in the engineer category, i.e. that usually means an engineer needs to go and resolve it. It could be logistics or quality or whatever. And someone has clicked that need help button and they've typed in low stock. So it appears here in DeMeter, because of the way we've configured it as an error, you can now see in this top widget, which is giving us an overview of all of our stations. So this is actually in our showroom in the UK. That's where I stole the screenshot from. We have 3 stations set up, a kind of light electronics assembly station, like an OEM kind of automotive-esque station, and this station which features our Nexonar product. This station now goes into a kind of stopped error state. So really quickly, you can glance at that screen and you can see, station 3 has a problem. What's the problem? It's this low stock error. So it's a completely valid use case of DeMeter to actually not care at all about any of that lovely tightening stuff that Antoine showed you. You could just not use any of that. You could use DeMeter purely as an and-on system, and that's just as valid an application, which I think shows, the flexibility of the system.
And this is the way that some of our customers have chosen to use it. Actually, some of our customers chose DeMeter single-handedly for the notifications and the hand on board. And also, this is opening to them a lot of possibilities. For example, to make statistics on the most problematic alerts, the one that stay open the longest. Also to look at the reaction time, depending on the different kind of alerts and different kind of levels that we have. You can, possibilities are endless. Again, that's to use as best as possible all this data.
And that feeds nicely actually into what I was about to say, which is something we've not mentioned so far. There is actually a DeMeter app. Obviously, you could look at it on a phone anyway in the web browser, but there is a dedicated app, and it allows alerts to appear like this one. So as soon as we've raised the alert, it would appear in the app. It can be accepted by someone. So say I'm the team leader, I accept it. It will appear, you can see here on the dashboard, hopefully, there's an accepted by. It's not accepted by anybody yet. If I click accept, whoever raised the alert will know that I'm working on it. I've not fixed it yet, but I'm working on it. And then as soon as I've fixed whatever the problem is, after I click accept, there's another button that appears which says acknowledge, and then it goes away. It's resolved. Obviously, it's still stored for later because that event still happened. But yeah.
Yeah, and again, all the data related to the time it took to be accepted, the time it took to be closed, everything.
All recorded, yeah. I said I wasn't going to run over in this one, and I'm guilty again. So I'll go through my last few slides quickly. I mentioned Pivotware. Some of you will be familiar with it already. It records a lot of data about your process. What operations took place? How did you build it? Who built it? Did the person who built it have multiple attempts at a particular operation? All of that is recorded already. However, I said way back at the beginning that DeMeter was kind of a unifying system to allow the traceability to be in a single place. That wouldn't be true if Pivotware just only had its own separate data. So yeah, it's possible now that we can view that data in DeMeter, and in terms of this is quite a new feature actually. In terms of development, which is coming, I would say watch this space, because what we can do in the future with this data, I think, is really interesting, given the how much of it we've got and how dynamic it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the last main slide from me. My key takeaway here would be we kind of have this cycle. So a lot of people record data. There's no shortage of hardware which records data. It's been around for a long time. In my experience, at least, a lot of people don't use it, or if they do use it, they use it reactively only when they had a problem. So I think DeMeter allows you to have this really nice cycle where the data is in your face, it's being presented to you, you can see the trends, you can see the problems. You can, using the data, identify areas for improvement, which is not even necessarily problems, just areas for improvement. You have the data to be able to assess what the impact would be if you made a change. What is the benefit in takt time likely to be? What's the reduction in defects likely to be? And you've got the data to back that up. You can make the change, and then it's this nice cycle that just continues. As a continuous improvement tool, I think DeMeter is super powerful. I don't want to dwell on it too much, so I'll move on. But another important point I just want to say before I finish my part. I said earlier, DeMeter is quite a new system as far as Desoutter's products go. I don't want you to interpret that it's not in any way kind of a mature system. Already, it's being used extensively around the world. I'm not sure how long it's been around, actually, Antoine. 2, 3 years, 4?
Yeah, it's been a little bit over 3 years. Yeah,
3 years, sure. And in that 3 years, yeah, it's been pretty successful. You can see this is just a sort of cross section of the people who are using it. Yeah. And the only reason I mention about it being new is because actually it's really exciting that we have the scope to do a lot of development. We're working with all of these companies. If they say, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if you had a widget that does this? Yeah, it would. Let's do it. Let's develop it. And we have worked in partnership, which, to be honest, is a nice segue. I think, Antoine, I'll hand over to you for this last comment, because you're in a
Yeah,
global role. You see it maybe more than me.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So again, the relationship that we have with our customers is obviously always a common agreement, and we have very different kind of customers. We've got customers who want the solution and want ownership of it as early as possible, and we've got customers who have a learning curve on this technology and need us for a longer time before they want to do things themselves. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. What matters is that you choose the way you want to own this solution. And here I had put an example for the curve analytics. As I said, this is a mix of competencies, of expertise that you need to have. And yes, we're really happy to stay with you, partner with you to continuously provide our expertise on software analytics, on tightening technologies as well. And we're just as much as happy to actually deliver this expertise to you, so you have the ownership, and on a long-term basis to be able to do all of this internally. We keep on improving our tools, and we keep on adding value to DeMeter, and that's because of this partnership. So that's how we want to do it, and we want to do it at your level, at your pace, with your own concept of the way this should be used.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice point to close, probably. Like you say, we're flexible. I think in a lot of the Desoutter products, we have this ethos that the customer gets to own the product. They're not tied into us in any way, and that's still a really important part of our offering. But I think DeMeter gives us this really nice opportunity to work in partnership, exactly like you said, and we kind of get there. I hate the word, but a really nice synergy.
Yes, but that's how it works. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, if you're happy, Antoine, I will go to questions just in case any of the guys are short for time.
Sure.
So I can see in the questions we have one. Can you collect data from non-Desoutter equipment too? I'm happy to take this one. So yes, for tightening assets, so smart tools, smart assembly tools, talk tools, anything which is open protocol compatible can be linked to DeMeter, and also if it's compatible with ToolsNet, it's also can have its data pulled in.
Protocol,
yeah. And then I think that's where that pivotware comment I made earlier. Obviously, pivotware can tie into an infinite amount of devices. Honestly, I've done a lot of it in my integration work. So electrical testers and hydraulic leak testers and all kinds of crazy devices. Obviously, all of that data is pulled through as part of the process data. In terms of what we can do with that widgets-wise to evaluate trends and stuff, it goes back, I think, to the watch this space. You have the data, it's pulled in, you can view it, you can filter it, you can export it. But in terms of specific analytics, I think it's probably the most interesting area going forward. Anything you would add, Antoine?
No. I think you said it all. Anything that can be connected to ToolsNet can be connected to DeMeter through the ToolsNet Open Protocol. Everything that's compatible on with Open Protocol itself is also compatible. So yeah, sums it up.
Okay. So some more questions. Can you export the data into other formats, example Excel, Minitab, etc.? Yes, definitely. So when you see any of those widgets where we have like a big list of operations, and we can do the filtering like you saw earlier where we typed the VIN in and it showed us just the results for that specific vehicle, there's a button in the top right which is an export button. We would hope we've given you the tools to do all the analysis you could ever want to do in DeMeter, but definitely if there is something in particular you wanted to do, yes, definitely you can export it to like CSV, for example.
Yeah, and there is also an automated way, I would say. So, for example, if you already have an MES in place on your production line, managing a production line, and you would like your MES to access the traceability inside DeMeter, we also have a complete API that can be reached out. So that's also a possibility to extract data from DeMeter.
Yeah, I was testing this. It's very good, and I think it's probably another interesting area in the future. I think that's probably going to get a lot of development because it's really powerful for us, honestly, to use, isn't it? There's one more I can see here, and I'll let you answer it, Antoine, but I'll read it to you. So it's great stuff so far. Thank you. With DeMeter, can you alert specific people? For example, a production engineer wouldn't need to know about low stock, but a store manager would. I'll let you take that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So absolutely, everything can be configured, which means that you can decide already. You can create your own alerts. So it's not a set list of alerts or calls that you create. You create your own. In each of these alerts that you're going to create, you're going to give a level, so either information, warning, or error. You can also create your own level if you will. And then you can decide to affect a specific person per operator call or per level. But yes, so a specific person can be called in for a specific alert, or a set of people. You can also decide that 2 or 3 people are going to be alerted in one case, and these 3 people plus another person is going to be alerted in another situation. So, I mean, the field of possibilities is very, very wide. It is true for the operator calls when they're coming from systems like Nexonar or from our tightening controllers, and it's also true when we are talking about curve analytics.
Yeah, and just to give a specific example, this set of screenshots, like I say, I took them in our showroom downstairs. This phone app has been set to only accept alerts from the engineer category. So if I had raised one for logistics, this phone wouldn't have received it. So you can imagine that this phone would be in the pocket of an engineer, and he only sees, or they only see engineer alerts. So yeah, definitely.
And again, these categories, they are not set. You create your categories. So you can create as many as you want, which means that you can really split in as much as you want the notifications. And by the way, it's customizable. So you can decide who you are going to alert. But now we have also another feature that we call the smart notifications. And they are smart in the way that not only a specific person is going to be alerted, but you can create scenarios to be notified. So, for example, you can say that for this specific station, and only when I have 5 not OKs happening within 2.5 hours, for example, I don't know, I'm inventing something. In this scenario, I want this specific person to be notified, either by the app or by email. You have a choice also there. So yeah, again, it's very difficult to cover the whole possibilities because it's so wide. But yeah, the people notified and the scenarios that create the notifications, everything is fully customizable.
We got another one just asking about whether this is a cloud-based system or an on-site system. You're on a roll, so I'll let you carry on, Antoine.
All right. Yeah, I'll go on this one. Most of our customers have decided to handle the installation themselves, and they can install DeMeter either on a physical server on the plant, or they can actually decide to install it on a cloud-based server. But what matters at the end of the day is that the customer is responsible for storing his data, whether it's physically, locally, or on the cloud. He can decide. Also, there is a possibility to have a redundancy of the server, which means that you can have not one, but several cloud servers being redundant in case of something happens. Some of our customers have decided also to use this technology to connect several plants together. So there is several cloud servers being redundant one to another, but connecting worldwide plants from the US, from Brazil, from Europe, and from Turkey, for example. That's
You
one.
make an interesting point actually, which I hadn't thought of, but I think is important. Desoutter is a very international company, and so a lot of the customers that we work with, I think being able to work in that way, to have the data visible. If you, a selfish example close to home, someone like JCB, for example, they have a lot of plants in the UK. They manage a lot of stuff from the UK, but they have plants in India and the US too. Being able to set this up in a way where the key insights can be seen by the right people is really important. And also, we see a lot of defense and aerospace companies, and actually the I was going to say it's critical, but it's legislatively critical that they own that data, and it's not seen outside of their business. So yeah, having some flexibility here in how it's set up, I think, is really important. And crucially, yeah, you always own your data. With that, I think that's the end of the questions.
I think you had maybe a last question about software updates.
Yes, okay.
The question was, are software updates included in the plan, such as iOS X with Apple, for example? I think I'm maybe going to take this one, Alexander.
I think probably best, given you sit much closer geographically to R&D than I do.
Yes, to R&D and to our service division as well. Our global service division, I should say. Yes. So really, again, Alexander was talking about flexibility. Here as well, we are very flexible. It's our customer's choice. Software updates are included in all the service packs, the DeMeter service packs that we sell. Customers who do not want to acquire a service pack and decide to go without. So the service packs it's kind of a subscription model where our customers can benefit from the software updates and from the remote support as well. Or they can decide to do without this and instead to let's say to install the DeMeter as a one-time project. So that's really a choice that is given to our customers. But you've seen the technology, as I said. This the whole technology that is being used by DeMeter has been chosen, so it's ready for the future. And it's not ready for the future if you are going to use only the features that have been developed 5 years or 10 years ago. Your competitors, they are not waiting for you to actually update your system, right? They go along with the latest technology. They want to have a competitive edge. There are new versions of DeMeter that come up every 2 or 3 months, approximately. And every time there is some new exciting content in it, I can tell you this much. And it's not content that you're going to have to pay once it's installed. Most of the content that is delivered is actually free for use. More extraction tools, more analytics tools, new widgets. The list goes on and on. So we obviously advise the service pack for DeMeter to have access to the software updates and to continuously improve the efficiency and the quality delivered by the product. And I think that's how you get the competitive edge.
Yeah, I think that's really good. There definitely aren't any more questions this time. I've checked. So we'll leave it there. Just a thanks to you, Antoine, for helping me with this. I think the format was really nice. Maybe we'll continue with it for next year's. If there's nothing else you'd like to add, I'll end the webinar and Katie will send out the recording to everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.